Health Tips presents 7 Powerful Things to Tell Yourself Every Morning, a podcast talk show.
Okay, think about those first few moments when you wake up. Before the day really hits you, before the phone starts buzzing, before your brain kicks into high gear with the to-do list. What are you actually telling yourself then in that quiet space? Because honestly, those first words, those thoughts, they can really set the stage for the whole day. Maybe even shape who you're becoming.
Absolutely. It's like priming the pump, isn't it? What you put in first thing often determines what comes out later.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving deep into today. The incredible power packed into your morning words. Mm-hmm. We're looking at 12 really potent declarations. They come from a transcript of a peak motivation YouTube video called 12 Powerful Things to Tell Yourself Every Morning. Mm. And these aren't just, fluffy affirmations. The source calls them weapons for your mindset, anchors for your identity, and fuel for your purpose. Pretty strong stuff.
Yeah, definitely strong. And our mission here isn't just to list them off. We want to unpack them, really dig into the wisdom behind each one, explore why they work psychologically speaking, and how you can use them as maybe shortcuts to growth, helping you be the author of your story, writing it by design, not just letting life happen to you by default.
Okay, let's jump into the first one then. This one feels, really freeing. I am not who I was. I am who I choose to become.
Mm-hmm. It's so powerful because it directly tackles that feeling, that weight of yesterday a lot of us carry around. The source mentions being chained to it, past mistakes, regrets, old labels people stuck on us, things that just echo.
Yeah, they really can echo, can't they?
They can. And this declaration, it just cuts through that noise. It says, look, your past might have shaped you, sure, but it doesn't own you. It doesn't get the final say.
Right. So it's like acknowledging the past, but refusing to be defined by it. How do you actually make that shift, though, when those old tapes play so automatically?
Well, the idea is you cast a new vote every single morning. You're not ignoring the past, not pretending it didn't happen, but you're consciously choosing to define yourself by where you're going, by the person you want to be today, not the person yesterday trained you to expect.
Casting a new vote. I like that.
Yeah. It's about carrying the wisdom from the past, the lessons learned, but leaving the heavy weight behind, refusing to let it dictate what happens next.
Wisdom without the weight.
Whoa.
That's good. So for you listening, maybe think about that. What weight are you ready to set down today? Knowing you can choose your identity right now.
Okay, so building on that idea of choice, the second declaration shifts gears a bit. I don't chase. I attract what belongs to me by becoming what it requires. This one feels counterintuitive sometimes.
It really does challenge how we usually think about achieving things, doesn't it?
Totally. Hustle culture tells you to chase harder. Right. But the source draws this key distinction. Chasing comes from a place of lack. I don't have it, I need to run after it. It's rooted in insecurity almost. Attraction, though, that comes from identity, from who you are. Mm-hmm. The idea is when you elevate yourself, your mindset, your standards, your habits, the right things, the right people, the right results, they start to naturally gravitate towards you.
So it's less about frantic pushing and more about internal magnetism.
Exactly. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally aligns with what you desire. So raising your standards, mastering your thoughts, refining your habits, it's a focus on internal work. The source says something great here. Delay is not denial, it's development.
Ooh, that's good. Delay is development.
Yeah. So you stop that desperate chasing, and instead you build this inner gravity. Mm. You attract what resonates with your new frequency, not your old fear or lack.
Makes sense. So if you shifted from chasing out of insecurity to attracting from a place of solid identity, what might change in how you approach your goals this week? Something to think about. All right, moving on. If we're choosing who we become and attracting what's ours, how do we actively steer the ship? That leads right into number 3. I am the author, not the audience of my life.
Yes. This one directly confronts that tendency many people have to just watch life happen. They're waiting for instructions, waiting for someone else to write their script.
Or waiting for the right time that never comes.
Exactly, waiting for permission. But this declaration says, no, you hold the pen. You're the lead character, the director, the editor. You call action.
Okay, but life throws curveballs, right?
Yeah.
What about external pressures, expectations from family, work? How do you stay the author when the world tries to hijack the narrative?
That's precisely the point. The world will try to cast you in a role that's convenient for it, not necessarily aligned with your calling. Being the author means you live from intention, not just reaction. You make choices based on your vision, even if it makes waves. It takes courage. Your story won't rate itself. It needs your voice. And here's the really empowering part. Even if there are chapters you regret, mistakes you made, a real story can turn at any moment. You can decide the plot twist.
Yeah, you can always start a new chapter. That's incredibly hopeful. So maybe it's time to pick up that pen. Your next chapter starts now, by design. And writing that chapter, designing your life, a huge part of that has to be protecting your resources. Which brings us to number 4, especially important before the day pulls you in different directions. My time, my energy, and my peace are sacred.
Oh, this is fundamental, because the truth is, if you don't guard these things, someone else will gladly use them up for their own agenda.
It's so true. It happens subtly sometimes.
Totally. So framing time as like this non-renewable currency you have, and energy as a vital investment, and peace as just essential for clarity and focus, that changes how you allocate them.
It makes protecting them feel less selfish and more necessary. But saying no, setting boundaries, that can be really hard for people. We worry about seeming difficult.
Right. But the source reframes it beautifully. Saying no doesn't make you difficult. It makes you wise. Choosing solitude sometimes doesn't make you antisocial. It makes you powerful.
Boundaries aren't walls to shut people out entirely. They're like gates. They guard what's most important inside: your purpose, your clarity, your ability to show up fully when you do choose to engage. You protect the core.
Gates, not walls. I like that image. It's about managing access, not blocking connection. So how can you, listening, start treating your time, energy, and peace as sacred today? How can you guard those gates?
Okay, Declaration 5. This feels like the powerhouse for getting things done, especially when you're just not feeling it. Discipline is my language, and consistency is my superpower.
Yes. This cuts right through the myth that success is all about waiting for inspiration to strike. It's not. The source says success doesn't come to the most inspired, it comes to the most disciplined. Discipline speaks in action, not feelings. It shows up whether you're tired or motivated or whatever. It just shows up.
It's the engine, not just the spark.
Exactly. And consistency, that's the magic multiplier. Greatness isn't usually built in one heroic leap. It's built in those small, often boring, repeated actions day after day. That consistency compounds, like interest, turning ordinary habits into extraordinary results over time. What felt hard at first becomes automatic. It actually rewires your brain.
It builds momentum, right? So it's not just about the actions, but how they change you over time. Makes you believe you can do it.
Precisely. It builds self-efficacy. With discipline as your language and consistency as your superpower, the source suggests there's really nothing you can't build.
Wow. Okay, so what's one small thing you could commit to doing consistently, starting today, knowing it's building something bigger? All right, number 6 is interesting. It feels like a paradox, but it's so important. I am already enough, but I choose to grow.
Yeah, this one is huge because it tackles the root of why we strive. So much self-improvement comes from a place of, I'm not good enough, I need to fix myself, which is rooted in shame or self-hate, really.
Right, like growth is a punishment for not being perfect.
Exactly. But this declaration flips that. It says real growth comes from self-respect. You're not evolving because you're broken. You're evolving because you are worthy of being refined. You're already complete, already valuable right now.
Okay, I get that intellectually. But how do you hold both? How do you genuinely feel enough and still push yourself to get better? Doesn't one cancel the other out sometimes?
It's a delicate balance, for sure. It means looking yourself in the eye and saying, I accept and love who I am today. And then in the very next breath saying, I'm excited about who I'm becoming. I'm not done yet. When growth comes from that place, from gratitude, from vision, not from fear or needing validation, it's sustainable, it's joyful even. You stop chasing approval and start chasing your potential.
Growth from gratitude, not fear. That's powerful.
Yeah.
So for you listening, how might letting go of the not enough story free you up to grow in a healthier way? Okay, number 7 feels especially relevant today with all the noise out there. No outside voice is louder than my inner truth.
Oh, absolutely critical. We're bombarded constantly, aren't we? Opinions, expectations, social media comparisons, critics. It's deafening sometimes.
It really is.
And this declaration is about making a conscious choice. The loudest voice you commit to listening to, the one that ultimately guides your decisions, has to be your own, your inner compass. You weren't put here to live a life edited by committee, or to shrink yourself down so others feel comfortable. Trusting that inner voice is where your real power lies.
But finding that inner voice, or trusting it when it whispers instead of shouts, How do you do that? How do you tune out the external static?
It takes practice and intentional quiet. Carving out space, maybe through journaling, meditation, walks in nature, whatever works for you, to actually listen to yourself, to ask, what do I truly want? What feels right for me, regardless of the applause or criticism? When you get grounded in that, the outside opinions start to lose their grip. Your inner truth becomes your anchor.
An anchor in the storm of opinions. So maybe ask yourself, where are you letting an outside voice drown out your own truth? How can you turn up the volume on your inner wisdom today? All right, number 8. This is for when things get really tough. I am built for pressure, prepared for purpose, empowered by faith.
Yeah, this is a mindset shifter for dealing with adversity. Instead of seeing pressure as something that breaks you, it reframes it as something that builds you.
Like forging steel.
Exactly. Pressure forges strength, it clarifies your focus, it builds character in ways that comfort never could. The challenges aren't random obstacles. They're part of your preparation for your purpose. They're refining you.
That's a powerful reframe. But when you're right in the middle of the pressure cooker, feeling overwhelmed, how do you feel prepared or empowered? How do you access that faith?
Well, faith here doesn't necessarily mean you have all the answers or that you can see the clear path ahead. Often you can't. Faith is moving forward anyway. Trusting that there's a purpose in the struggle, that nothing is wasted, that somehow it's all working together for your growth, even if it feels chaotic. It's trusting the process, trusting yourself, trusting something bigger, maybe. Greatness isn't born in ease, remember. It's born in that resistance, where you have to dig deep.
Right. You're not just surviving, you're becoming. Your purpose is worth the pressure. That's something to hold on to. Okay, declaration number 9 is all about courage. I don't fear the unknown, I own the unknown. This definitely pushes back against our instinct to play it safe.
It really does. Because the unknown feels scary, right? Uncertain. Our brains are kind of wired to prefer the predictable.
Totally.
But this declaration says, wait a minute. The unknown isn't the enemy. It's actually the space where possibility lives. It's the blank canvas where your vision can actually come to life. Too many people let the fear of uncertainty keep them stuck in lives that are too small for them. Owning the unknown means you stop demanding guarantees before you take action. You learn to walk with grit and trust.
Grit and trust instead of guarantees. Okay. But for someone who feels genuinely paralyzed by uncertainty, what's a baby step? How do you start owning even a tiny piece of the unknown?
It starts by accepting that growth requires stepping outside your comfort zone. Just acknowledging that is huge. Then maybe it's taking one small action where the outcome isn't guaranteed, something that stretches you just a little bit. Every major achievement, every great life was built by someone taking steps into the dark, guided by belief, not certainty. Embracing this, it opens doors you didn't even know were there.
Doors fear would have kept locked.
Ooh.
Okay. What's one small step into your unknown that you could take today? Number 10 tackles something universal. Rejection. The declaration is, every no I face redirects me to the right yes. That's a hopeful spin, but rejection stings.
Oh, it absolutely stings. This declaration isn't denying the hurt, I don't think. It's about how you frame it after the initial sting. Instead of seeing no as a final verdict on your worth or your idea, it reframes it as guidance, a redirection, a sign that says, not this door, try another one, this wasn't the right fit. The source even calls it a blessing in disguise, a course correction from the universe, if you will, guiding you towards what is truly meant for you.
So it implies a trust that the right things, the right job, relationship, opportunity won't actually pass you by if you keep moving.
Exactly. It fosters trust in the process. You stop seeing rejection as a wall stopping you dead and start seeing it as maybe like a helpful signpost pointing you in a better direction. It builds resilience. It teaches patience. It reminds you that the yes you're looking for is out there and this no just got you one step closer.
A signpost, not a wall.
Yeah.
That's a really useful way to think about it. How could looking at a recent no as a redirection change how you feel about it and what you do next? All right, number 11. This one hits home for probably everyone listening at some point. I am not behind. I'm exactly where I need to be to prepare for where I'm going. That comparison trap is real.
It's so real, especially now with social media showing everyone's highlight reels. It's easy to feel like you're falling behind. Yeah, but this declaration says that's an illusion. Your journey isn't a race against anyone else. It's your unique path, unfolding at its own pace. Every phase, even the quiet ones, the setbacks, the times you feel stuck, they aren't delays. They're preparation. They're equipping you, building skills, wisdom, resilience you'll need for what's next.
So the quiet seasons are actually productive, even if they don't feel like it.
Yeah.
That requires a lot of trust and patience.
It really does. Patience becomes key here. Trusting your timing. It's not off. It's specific to you. When you can really internalize that you're not behind, you're just preparing. A lot of that anxiety just dissolves. Your focus sharpens because you're not frantically looking left and right at what others are doing. You start flowing with your own life's current.
Letting go of behind lets you be fully here. That's liberating. How would releasing that pressure of comparison free you up to just embrace your own timeline right where you are? And that brings us to the final one, number 12. This feels like it ties everything together. I rise today to walk like the person I've been praying to become.
This is about embodiment, isn't it? It's saying true transformation doesn't wait until you feel ready or until you magically are that future self. It starts now. It starts with the decision today to act like, think like, carry yourself like the person you aspire to be. Even if there's still doubt lingering, it's like the act as if principle.
Act as if. So you're not waiting for permission, you're stepping into it.
Yeah.
How does that work? What's a practical first step to walking like that future self?
It's fundamentally an act of faith in your own potential. Believing that future self is already within you, waiting to be expressed. The first step, it could be tiny. Choose one quality the future self has, maybe confidence, maybe discipline, maybe kindness, and consciously embody it in one situation today. Speak up in the meeting like the confident version of you would. Follow through on a small promise, like the disciplined version would. It's about closing the gap between aspiration and action moment by moment. When you start moving like that future self is already here, you start pulling that future into your present reality.
You literally start becoming that person through action. Wow. Okay, these 12 declarations, they're really packed with power, aren't they? It's amazing how intentionally choosing your morning thoughts can ripple outwards, shaping your identity, your choices, your whole day.
Absolutely. They're not just words, they're tools. Tools for taking ownership, for shifting your internal state, for approaching life with purpose rather than just reacting to it.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe take a moment to think. Which one of these declarations really landed for you today? Which one felt like it spoke directly to where you are right now?
Yeah, maybe consider, what's one small brave choice you could make today? Just one thing to start living into that declaration, to embody it, even just a little bit more.
What will you declare when you wake up tomorrow? Something to really ponder.